Here's Maria's vitals.
Here's
Marie after her egg
and
retrieval.
Stacie's the best for being here with me.
So we're back for another episode talking about some real life juicy stuff. Stacie and I actually have talked about this extensively on our own. Egg freezing.
Yes, and Marie actually had the experience, which I was so privileged and excited to kind of start on that journey with her.
I have to say thank you. Everybody has to know how Stacie was my champion the entire time, and I could not have gotten through the entire experience without her. She was like my mama bear the entire
I tried.
time.
I was so honored to be a part of it because it's such a big thing. It's a big decision. It's an exciting decision. But yeah, I think it's one that, you and I have definitely talked about a lot because we are older. We do have geriatric wombs, according to science, which is such a terrible term.
Isn't it weird that's geriatric? Because even at my age now, I'm not afraid to say I'm 39, and I don't feel like I'm old, maybe because I'm in a place in my life where I'm still single. I obviously do not have children. I still feel very youthful. So to hear the term geriatric, it's just I get it, sure, but
according to the womb, you are with the age of our eggs or how many eggs we have left or how far away we are from menopause.
Right.
It's a big decision. And if it's something that you see in your future of having children, egg freezing is such an amazing option so that, you can still have that option, but you can still also focus on other things that...
Thank goodness for technology nowadays.
I don't even know how that's possible. I don't know how things like that are possible.
Well, it's interesting because, Stacie was in the room with me from the get-go, from the consultation. And the doctor was saying how this whole procedure was only used for women who were going through cancer treatments or if they wanted to procreate in the future and they knew that they wanted to have that, they had this egg freezing option so that, okay, they have to go through their medical stuff, but here's an option for these women who are unfortunately going through wear and tear of their body and just they want to have just insurance for their future.
Or it kills all their eggs
or
too if they go
what
through
happens to them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until years later where they finally opened it up to the rest of the population because we are in such a different world.
Yeah.
Working
people having
women and
babies
wanting
later.
to wait and
have a career.
Gives us more agency for our bodies. Yay. So I finally pulled the trigger and
it was how long ago was it? A month ago?
It was I think I had to make a very executive decision because I knew I was about to turn 39 and I knew already that's already a very late age in the game to begin the whole process. Even though I didn't know what my status was with my testing, I was like, I need to get the ball going right now. And doing my research, I knew that there's extensive trips to the doctor every other day, lots of traveling. And so this is the most busy semester of my life with teaching and driving all over the place that I was like, okay, I have one window to do it. And this is it. Perfect timing. Do it right after my period because it has to start right after my period. And right after that, I start teaching at the new college. So
the timing really
was
worked out.
perfect.
Yeah. And I remember because you were you texted me and you're like, can you, join me at this consultation? I was like, sure. And we went. And then all of a sudden you were like in it. Like, I think the way that you just made that decision, you knew what you wanted, was very inspiring. Because I know I'd be like, I don't know, do I want to pay for it? Because it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
It's an investment.
I was like, thanks, Mom and Dad, for my birthday / Christmas present. And you want grandkids too.
Yeah.
So everybody wins.
Yeah, exactly. That's so nice of them.
But I think they also felt they felt really bad for me because they saw how my last relationship ended. And so hence like a reason why like I wanted to go this route. I never planned on getting my eggs frozen. Like I never think that down like back in the past, but I thought I would already have children by now, given my last relationship and the conversations he and I had. So again, I had to make that decision. I was like, well, this is not how my plans happened. So I want to be
proactive
into my
about
own
it.
hands and be proactive as far as I can, you know? So, that felt good. And to have Stacie there with me was so great. In the room with me with my first like ultrasound.
I know. That was like, I got emotional. I was like, oh my God, those are your eggs. Because I've never had one. And I was like, there's so many. And it was so successful, which is also an amazing aspect of it, because you never know how many viable eggs that you'll have. But it was very successful.
Very successful. And doctor's like, okay, we just need to run more blood tests and we'll call you to see what those levels are. And I get the call next day. She's like, you have the levels of a 20-something-year-old.
Yeah.
So if you want to continue, like, call me when you get your next period and we will start. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so fast.
It was so fast. And I wasn't even the one it was happening to. And I was like, oh my God, and the whole because I think we've spoken on our last one about tattooing and how terrified I am with needles, and you have to poke yourself in a certain angle.
45 degrees.
Yeah.
45 degrees.
At a certain like time. They have to be cold or frozen.
One of them is room temperature, another one, and it's different for every office. Like a doctor might prescribe you.
Wow.
The pharmaceutical world, that could be another podcast. But like, whatever company that they choose, those are the like hormones. I mean, yes, it's always going to be hormones, but in my case, one had to be refrigerated and an EpiPen. It's like Epi-style pen. The other one was just your typical injection, like you said, 45 degrees.
Oh God. And this superwoman over here did all of the injections on her own. Like a lot of people, if they're doing like in vitro or if they have a partner, like they have someone assisting them, but you are amazing and you did it all on your own. I don't know how you do that.
It was not easy. Like I used to do phlebotomy when I was like doing clinical research. So the needle aspect I'm not scared of, but it is weird to inject yourself. I think the biggest difficulty for me was almost the chemistry of it, mixing the vials, because I know how expensive the medication is, mixing the powder with the saline, making sure I turn it to the right dial and it's not over because you don't want to waste it, making sure it's the correct one at the right time. And I was just so freaked out of the like 45 degrees. How do you do that with the needle and grabbing your like... And so when I finally did it, I was just like, oh, okay, you can see the needle and that's 90 perpendicular. Half of that is 45. Got it. So the actual injecting, once I got to that point, was not hard. I was like, oh, finally, I'm at this point. The longest part was just the science of all like watching the videos and figuring out how to do the syringes and the plastic and so many. It really does feel like a science, like biology, chemistry project.
Oh God. Yeah. I even if I had someone helping me, I hate needles. Oh God.
Didn't I call you the first night? I think I called you.
Did.
Just like, Stacie, I did it.
I think we FaceTime. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, how'd you do it by yourself?
I was like, I just had to call somebody and tell somebody.
Yeah, I was like, pretty amazed by you though. Like, and the other thing is like, you're not only injecting yourself, but like you cannot mess up. No. And your doctor's office essentially messed up.
I totally forgot
and
that.
forgot to give you a medication where if you had not taken it, or if you had not realized it when you did and had not gotten it from the pharmacy,
it would have
you wouldn't have been able to go.
The entire process at the very tail end.
Yeah.
And that's why I was livid.
You should have been, because
oh my god,
what would have happened in that scenario if you hadn't is like the fault on, would they put the fault on you because you should know, like you have to check everything, or would they,
am I supposed to double check it, or like
I don't know.
Supposed to, that's why I had to double check to see, was it the pharmacy's mistake, or was it the doctor's office, like the nurse's mistake, or was it my mistake? And so I had to paper trail and check it. Luckily figured it out, kept my cool on the phone, even though it was so hard. And luckily I had enough time because I had meetings to go to for school and figured it out, found a pharmacy that was on the way to my meeting. Luckily they were still open.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was so stressful, but I'm so glad it worked out.
Yeah.
So
it did work out. It was very successful. You got lots of viable eggs. But then the other thing about that is what the doctor told us, and we learned so much, I feel, in that consultation.
Yes, please tell, because I feel like you explained it so well. I was like, wow, you were taking good notes.
Well, I didn't know that like every time you have a period that like multiple eggs are released, but there's only like one super egg that's like has the potential of becoming a baby, but like your ovaries release so many eggs and then they all end up going away during that cycle.
The science of it all.
It
the
is.
Science of the reproductive system, because we had like a mini lesson during that consult where a doctor was like making her little diagram.
Yeah, learned so much about like my own body that I hadn't known before.
I was like, oh, that's how they're able to extract X amount of eggs. So, again, I have to give my love and thanks to Stacie, who you are actually required, for those inquiring about this whole process, you have to have somebody there with you when you have the procedure. Yeah. Because you cannot drive afterwards, because they do, it's not anesthesia, but they do some sort of
they put you
anesthetic-ish to like put you out. And I asked Stacie to be my person, and she just opened up her home to me, drove me all the way to the office, and was there when I woke up.
No, I was so happy to be a part of it.
It's so wonderful, especially when you're single, because the doctor even came in like our last session before I had the procedure. She's like, do you have someone coming to like pick you up? Because she knows my profile. It says single. And I was like, oh, you remember Stacie from my consult? Oh, she's like, oh, good. Stacie will be there. I was like, yeah. Stacie will be there.
Yeah, but she was great. The doctor was so great at explaining everything.
She is.
But also another aspect of it is you don't, like she says you have these viable eggs, but you don't really know if they are viable until they become an embryo and you inject them with sperm to see if it's actually healthy. So that's like another like risk where like you don't know until it happens.
That's why it's a numbers game. Because at the stage where I'm at, because obviously you don't have any sperm yet, no embryos, it's a numbers game. And that's why, depending on how many eggs they're able to extract, some women go through multiple cycles. I think you can take up to 3 cycles. I was very lucky and blessed, especially at my age, to only have to go through 1 cycle, especially because that was the number I gave my parents. I was like, can we just pay this much? And if it doesn't work, I tried, and I'll have those number of eggs. Yeah. But luckily at the consult, she was able to count at least around, we were able to see it. It was like in the teens, maybe like around 16, 17, which she was able to see. But after the procedure, she calls and says, we found 26 eggs, and we were able to freeze 23. And I was like, what? Are you sure those are my files? Because I did not see that
Because
many.
I have a geriatric womb, according to your science.
And I was like, but I definitely felt that bloated to have like.
I remember. Oh, that's
that
another
many.
aspect we didn't talk about. Was like that's the side effect is the bloating, because it's not very painful, right? But
it's not very painful.
I just remember you walking around like holding your belly, like
I felt like
bloated.
I've never been pregnant, but this must be what the first trimester feels like.
Oh, interesting.
I've talked with like friends who've been pregnant before, and they're like, yeah, it's a lot of bloating when you're preggers. I was like, maybe this is very equivalent because I'm not that big, but I definitely feel very full, and it's affecting my walking.
Yeah.
And like instructions are when you go through this, because you have to protect your eggs, and no exercise, no extensive rigor to your body, no alcohol, no sex, no nothing. Like it's like, I get it. Yeah, because you're just protecting those eggs. And that's the most uncomfortable physical aspect of it. I know there's probably other symptoms that other females may have gone through. I think of it as more of a heightened like premenstrual cycle, because I think some people experience cramps. I was worried about what it would do to me mentally, and talking with other women who've gone through the process
Emotionally too, because of all the hormones.
Yeah, mentally, emotionally, of like, it's sad when you have to go through it and you're like, oh, I never thought I'd have to do this. I wish I had like a partner. And
of
the fact that
course.
I'm having to do this in the first place
Yeah.
is the tricky thing. And I feel this way, and I physically feel it. So it kind of plays with your mind in that way, at least for me. But luckily I had, a busy schedule, so I wouldn't stay stuck in there. And such good support system.
That's hard. And then there's also that, we've talked about this as well, is like the decision of having kids or not having kids. And I would also love to talk about, because I know that would you describe yourself as like a devout Catholic or practicing Catholic?
How would you say Catholicism is the religion and tradition that I was born into and subscribed to, because I am practicing. But I think I'm very open, because to this day, I'm always learning about this tradition. I don't even like saying the word religion. Not that I hate it or anything, but the connotation that it follows with it. But the spiritual tradition of it, to see how it's evolved and seeing its lows and highs throughout history, I appreciate the positive aspects of it today.
Yeah.
So that's why, in terms of how it pertains to the egg freezing, I think I had to like really reflect upon this, if it affects, because I know like the church has one way of teaching of like, okay,
or also people's perception that are in the church of like you going through this.
I feel very comfortable in the decision that I make with it, regardless of what others may believe, on where they're at with the conservative versus progressive side of the faith tradition, because it has no conflict with my value system.
Yeah.
I don't see how it ruins my relationship to my creator. Because in my relationship with God, I have been on this journey of communicating and figuring out what my divine desire is, to be a creator also. And so we've talked about this
I loved
divine
that
creation.
Yeah, but what I loved, I think we were at lunch or something, but I remember you talking about like wanting to have children, and you were like, I'm an artist, I'm a creator, and like what's like a bigger way to create than, to create life. And I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful.
Exactly. And that whole aspect, especially being women with our reproductive systems, like men can't do that. Like that's something I'm so thankful for as a female artist creator, that we can partake in that creation, that beautiful miracle of creating life. Like, again, to me, like that's what better artistic creation can you make than life, for me, at least. I know it's a different definition for everybody, but I think for me, with my own faith and my own art, because those two are integrated so much for me, that's why, again, this decision was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Like, I want this. And screw you for those who like judge me.
No, absolutely.
But luckily I haven't experienced any like
that's good.
pushback or anything, even though I'm not like parading it to everybody, because I know that it could potentially cause a stir with people, but I feel very comfortable with it. And those who I know and love and know me have been very supportive. So I think that's what gets me through it all.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that aspect of like, this is only something like a woman can do by carrying a child. But there's also that aspect of it. It also puts the burden on us as well, where it's like, well, do I want to carry something for 9 months? Like, have it change my body in that way? We are both in the entertainment industry, and it's so like, if you got like an amazing role, but like they turned you down because you were pregnant, or, I want to create this feature I'm working on, but what if I got pregnant? And like that, how would that work? So there's that aspect where it's a gift, but it can also be like a burden. I don't know if that's the right word, but
burden, or I like to rephrase it into a more positive connotation.
You're so positive. I'm such a pessimist.
Not even like pessimist, but more of a opportunistic, because I like even positive. I try to like open possibilities of like well, you can still do it. You would just have to alter what you're doing to make it. You would have to just think outside the box to make it work. But nonetheless, more work. Like you said, there is that quote unquote burden. So of
my husband won't be able to experience like, giving birth or carrying a child and having like that bond. But at the same time, he won't have to go through, like I've heard women who have terrible pregnancies and just how difficult that is, not even just with the morning sickness or having to be bedridden or whatever that looks like, because every woman's pregnancy is different and you don't know until you get pregnant, which is so scary. And on top of that, you don't know what your child will be like. It's so scary to think about, your child not being healthy, because it's such a miracle to not only have a child, but to have that child be healthy as well. So it's a lot to think about. And I feel like as I get older, like I'm like less ready to have a child, which is like opposite. Well, yeah, because I'm like, it's like getting like, we're losing like time, and I think we've talked about this. It's where it's like, how do we make that decision on whether we want to have kids or not when we our time, like that time frame for us to have children is dwindling. And I don't know if it's like I'm less ready, but I'm just like, I don't feel ready. Even though there are aspects or there's parts of me that like really want to have a child. Like I really want to experience that. I would love to see Tyson as a father, what our baby would look like.
Oh my gosh, your babies would be
having that journey together, I love that. But then there's also like, I don't know if I should not be watching TikTok videos on motherhood.
Probably not helping.
But it's taught these women who are just being honest, how they love their children, but like, wow, it's not really your life anymore. And how do you maintain that aspect of yourself and like your wants, your goals, your desires, while also like, you know, giving so much of yourself to this child who's now your life. And I think a lot of it is like having a really supportive partner, which I know Tyson would be. But it's a lot. It's a lot to think about. And I saw this comment on one video where this woman was like, I would rather regret not having children than regret having them. And that like stuck with me. And I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, because I know motherhood for a lot of women is not what they felt like it was promised to be.
That's a tricky one. That statement right there.
Yeah.
There's this show, I just watched a couple episodes of on Netflix called, I think it's called Sex Life. There's like a slash in there. Yeah. It's about that.
Oh,
like
interesting. Is this the one where they have like a lot of sex?
I don't know if they have a lot of sex, but there's a lot of flashbacks. So you see her like, you see the protagonist, like how she hoeing it up, you know, like living her best life.
Are there a lot of sex scenes? Like, is that the one where there's like a lot of like sex scenes?
It's because, and it has to do with, usually I'm just like, okay, are they just like doing that to like provoke? I was like, oh no, it really has to do with like the storyline, because in what she's struggling with, because you see her former life of that freedom, and she's, I think she and her best friend are both professors again, like, you know, single life and, you know, just doing their thing, but still struggling. Yeah, she's having a lot of sex and everything, but, you know, getting torn down because she wants to like find the right guy. Eventually finds this like Wall Street type finance guy, will move from New York to like Connecticut, you know? And so I think 2 years later, she has a baby and a 2-year-old, and it's a complete 180 of no longer working, not even teaching anymore, because she lives in the Bergs, and she's struggling because she's like missing that old life of like even that passion in her like sex life that she used to have. This is the extreme version of it, you know, for entertainment's sake and, you know, plot lines with exes and stuff. But it's still this like concept of like that piece of you when you choose a certain route in your life. And are you sacrificing something?
Yeah. How much of yourself are you sacrificing? Yeah. Is it possible to like have it all? Or I don't even know about having it all, you know, but is it possible to like keep your freaking sanity?
That's all I asked for. Can I just keep my sanity?
Yeah.
I think even I had to reflect upon this even like when I like, if and when I wanted children, you know, when I was trying to make that decision in my life like a few years ago, I was like, if I do have children, I know that I am the type of person that I cannot be a stay-at-home mom. I have so much respect for women who can do that.
Of course.
And they love it and can do it great. I cannot be that. I
know that about myself as well.
At least a part-time job.
And I feel like maybe that's kind of also what's hindering me is like, I don't know. Like, I know I would love my child, but I know that like motherhood would just not be enough for me. And that's, I think, what I'm scared of as well, is like losing like that aspect or the dreams that you have to kind of, you know.
The fear that you may have to sacrifice the dream.
But yeah, so I think I'm just scared of, you know, that aspect of kind of, you know, how do you keep that balance of your own self and also, you know, have your child flourish. And because I know, like, talking to some people, I won't name who they are, but like they've told me and they're like, Stacie, like if I had the choice to do it again, like I wouldn't have children.
Wow.
Which is like, and they're like, I love my children dearly, but the worry, and they know me because like the way I worry, the anxiety that I have, even with my dog or like my parents or like my husband, just that worry, she's like, just times a million with a child, because not only do they rely on you, but you love them so deeply that the worry you have when they leave the house, when they go to school, like what could happen to them is just unbearable at points, especially if you deal with like anxiety like I do in regards to that. So that scared the shit out of me. Like how like that's a big like regret. And it's not that like women don't love their children, but it's a hard thing to, you know, balance that with like your own emotions and your what you're dealing with in your own life. And if you don't have a partner, which I've seen on TikTok again, just these women who cannot leave the house without leaving their children home with their husband. They're basically, think the term is like they're single married mothers because they have zero support from their husband in regards to raising their children, which is disgusting. Like how these women could even have sex with these men, like I do not understand. Like never, like could never, I would never be turned on by a man that viewed me as like just this caregiver and not a partner, like, or who didn't want to like be involved in my child's life like that. So
do they say that on TikTok of like that's how they feel, and are they putting their husbands on blast like on that topic?
I think there are some. Well, the video that I saw recently, it was actually on Twitter, but it was a TikTok video of this woman on the phone, and she just stepped out to go to like a dinner or to get her nails done with like her friend for maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and her husband calls her, basically guilting her into coming home because he can't be alone with their kids and he can't deal with them. It's her responsibility to come home. She's like, I cooked dinner, like everything's ready for you to go. He's like, I can't do this. He's like, you need to come home. She was like, so I will cancel my plans and I will come home and take care of the kids, get them ready for bed, do all this stuff. And he's like, yes.
Oh my gosh, that
like,
hurts my heart.
Can you imagine? Not only because in my eyes, like I have carried a child for 9-10 months, however long it is. There's nothing you could do as their father to make up for that. Right? And the fact that you like, I don't know, it hurts my heart that like there are fathers, and not just fathers, there are mothers who are not involved in their kids' life, but fathers in these scenarios that don't want to have that bond with their children, that don't want to play with them, that don't want to spend time with them, that see them as, but will have no problem creating them.
Yeah. Could be like generational trauma.
So like that's, and I like, that would not be Tyson at all.
No,
but
not
just
at
the
all.
fact that it
Which
even
is great.
exists
Which
is
great.
horrifying.
It's like, it perturbs you even though that would never happen to you.
Not with him. Yeah, no. But just still, the fact that, like, as women, like, that there's that expectation is so infuriating. Not only do we have to, like, rip our bodies apart, basically. Like, I think I heard some statistic. I don't know if it was true or not, but it takes, like, so many years for your body to ever go back to normal.
Unless you're rich enough, like a Kardashian, and can like.
But no, like your insides of your body to actually
the actual vaginal canal.
I don't know. It's just, I think it was like 7 years for it to like go back to like, and I don't know if that's true, but that was something that I heard. But it's just what we like, what we have to go through, and to not have a partner who is loving and supportive and like, how can I make things easier for you? How can I help you? Because like, it's so much harder to raise a child than to go to a job.
That's why I'm like, moral of the story, make sure you know
who your
baby daddy is gonna be.
Not even baby daddy, who you're having sex with. Because if you get pregnant and you get pregnant unexpectedly and decide you want to have a baby.
It's
who is that partner?
We can go on about this forever. There's like so many other topics.
There will definitely be a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.